It is time for the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue. This is real sports talk for the real sports fan. Talk to him, Swain.
Give it to his mouth and a Ric Flair.
Swain Event and SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. Shout out to Dead End Barbecue, taking care of myself and Kevin Simon as he dropped by Dead End Barbecue yesterday afternoon. Tennessee, New Mexico State for homecoming this weekend. A lot of people will be in town. A lot of alum. Wish those a safe trip here, safe trip back, and hope that you have a wonderful time and get a chance to connect with some of your friends and classmates. From a football perspective, it's not the most exciting matchup, but I think this game comes with a couple storylines. The question is, what's the number one storyline? I was discussing with Kevin Simon yesterday about the backup quarterback situation, about going into the portal during the offseason, and for me, that became the number one storyline this game. Trying to see who's going to be the second quarterback that comes in. Who's going to be that guy? And what does that mean for the future? 865-255-03, Garza Law Hotline. Also, the Beatty Chevrolet text box is open for you. You can throw in comments and questions there. Ben McKee, Vols 247. Look at that gentleman. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
What's the number one storyline for this game? Is it whether Jamal McCoy is going to play or who's going to be the second quarterback in for Tennessee?
Jamal McCoy ain't playing this season. Come on now. I wish they would just come out and say it.
Listen.
And not that anybody has told me he's not going to play. I just, with Tennessee being eliminated from the playoffs, Jamal being projected as a first-round pick still after not playing a single snap this year, Dane Brugler for The Athletic, I think, had him as like his number 9, number 12 overall prospect earlier this week, despite not playing a snap this season. If he wasn't willing, ready to come back in early mid-October when you were playing Alabama and then getting into November and playing Oklahoma when you were still pushing to make the playoffs, if he wasn't coming back then, why would he come back now? He doesn't need the extra tape, in my opinion. So I wish they would just come out and say it instead of just pulling people along and pulling people's legs, because I think that's ultimately what they will prove to do. I would be stunned if Jamal McCoy plays again this season. Again, that's nobody has said that to me. That's just my opinion from the outside looking in on the situation. So with that being said, I do think, as you were mentioning, the quarterback position to me is the biggest storyline in this football game, because you should blow out New Mexico State. Joey Aguilar and Tennessee's receivers should all put up big numbers. Joey should be out mid to late second quarter. Certainly by the start of the – huh?
You don't want Joey to play?
I do want Joey to play. I'd rather watch Joey play, but it is more important to get George McIntyre reps, because he is most likely going to be your starting quarterback next year. And there are no bridge years in the SEC or in college football anymore. There are no passes for an average season because you have a young quarterback. So George McIntyre needs valuable reps. I don't care if it's New Mexico State or not. You didn't play him against UAB. Those were valuable game reps that he could have received. You need to make up for that this game. So I love Joey. I want to see him play more football. I think it'd be great if he could come back for another year, but the game should be in hand. Let Joey have a little bit more of a mental reset on top of the bye week to get ready for Florida and be able to do something no quarterback has been able to do since Casey Clauston and win in the swamp next week. Let George McIntyre get some reps. So for me, it's the backup quarterbacks and how they look. Do they go to George or Jake first, like we talked about on Tuesday? I think they should go to George first, and then I'm very curious to see what George looks like in those moments. And to me, it's not just about getting George in the game. It's about getting him in the game with the ones, with the twos, and really seeing what you have with him.
No, I see what you're saying.
Let him cook. Don't put him in there just to check off a box. Put him in there. Let him go to work. Let him do some things and allow this to be a tool for you to evaluate him.
So last time Tennessee played one of these games, it was UAB, right? UAB.
Yes.
And we did not see George in that one. You want to see Joey, did you say mid-second quarter?
I mean, to me, it's more about the score than timing of the game.
Okay. 42-7 was the score at halftime against UAB.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, okay, I'm with you. Or after the first possession of the third quarter. But I would prefer him just take the half. I also understand that Joey, this is it for Joey. He has 3 more regular season games. Like, he's not interested in, seems like, pursuing football after college. That's what it seems. But he could. Doesn't seem like he's trying to pursue another year in college. I think he's ready to move on. But, like, he only has a few more opportunities to do this thing in college. And so the future is important, but the present is important too, allowing a guy to play as much as he can without risking injury that's going to hurt the team chances against Vanderbilt and against Florida. So I think it's a balancing act. Because if I was in his position, I would want to play as much as possible. So if it's 42-7 at halftime, I would say give him the first possession of the third quarter, let him go ahead and score, let him get a curtain call like they do in baseball, let him get a little standing ovation, and then you roll with the other 2 guys for the rest of the game. I could see that playing out. But I'm with you, though. I mean, let's see George. And so the reason why I asked you about the storylines is because I was on Twitter and Appval was listening to Joshua Swain, and he was like, the number one storyline is Jamal McCoy. And I was like, it could be, but I think folks are just, if he plays, great. But it's one of those situations where we're not sitting around waiting to see if he's going to play or not, because the first bye week has come and gone. We have more to play for. You're not going to the playoffs. This is after the second bye week. Folks are like in the mode of they'll believe it when they see it. And I totally get it. I totally understand. All right, let's go to the phones. Guards of Law Hotline, 865-255-03. Good morning. Not that one. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
What's up, Turkey Man?
Hey, bud. Hey, I was going to ask you guys on the topic what I was really want to ask about. We got all year we've asked if our injured secondary players are going to come back, or when they're coming back, McCoy in particular, and if they're going to come back now that we have taken the playoff opportunities out of our hands, and it's totally into what other people do. It's in our hands. We win out. But I'm just saying we took control away from us when we lost 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that do about somebody like McCoy coming back and playing this year? And what benefit would it be for us, or what benefit would it be for them? I'll get off and listen.
I mean, the benefit is you playing football. I mean, I believe if you are healthy, you are 100% healthy, why not play?
Is he going to be 100% at some point this season?
I mean, I don't know. But
I mean,
I'm
if
just
I were
telling you
him, I'm not
my
coming back anything less than 100%.
I mean, I'm just telling you like my approach. If I hurt myself in the spring and I'm to the point where I can play and I'm 100% or even 95% or 90% because everybody else is 90% at best at this point of the season. So if I can play, like, I'm going to play. Now,
Right. I don't think there's any question of that. The question is, will he get to that 95, 100%?
I think it's more mental than physical whenever you're coming back from this type of injury. But, you know, if he is, I would play. If he's not, if I'm not, then I won't play. Turkey Man wants to know, like, I guess the benefit of playing. Well, you continue to put out good tape. I mean, you haven't played all year, and so I don't buy the mock draft because
You don't view him as a mid first round pick right now?
no, because he hasn't played all year, and there's still some testing that he's going to have to do. And mock drafts, I saw when Jalen Hyatt was a first round pick, and then he wasn't. So like, I take it with a grain of salt. I take those deals as a grain of salt, especially 15, pick 15 down. Like those top 10 guys, okay. But like, how many times have we seen a mock draft not play out like they said it was going to play out? A guy slid, it didn't test well, or someone that was not in the first round mock jumped into the first round because of the play on the field and because how he tested. So I just take it with a grain of salt. I do think it's going to be important for him to test well because he is a football player over a track dude. So I don't know how fast he's going to run. I think him playing, man to man more is going to help him put out some good film. But I also think that he may be concerned of not putting out good film if he comes back and he's rusty. I think this will be a good game for him to play in, to knock off that rust instead of on the road against Florida. But I just think there's a ton of factors when it comes to Jamal McCoy playing. And I don't blame him for being careful because I would. But if I'm healthy, I'm playing. I think for me, it's that simple. And I'm pretty sure there's people in his ear telling him not to play, telling him to play. But at the end of the day, man, he gotta listen to his heart and listen to the voice within himself and understand if he approaches the game the right way, like the football guys are gonna bless you. And I think if he does that, then he'll be okay. But I don't think that's the top storyline because we've been down this road, it seems like every week since the first bye week. And until he plays, I believe it then. But I think the top storyline is because we know what's going to happen on defense. We'll look good against New Mexico State. We'll look good offensively. I think the top two storylines for me would be who's coming in second quarterback and who's going to be the starting punt returner. For me, that's the two most important storylines in this game. That's what I'm looking for. Let's go back to the phones, and then I'll explain why after this call. Good morning. Good morning. Going once.
Morning.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, this is Jeff. I've been listening to y'all for a while now. First time getting a call.
Hey, Jeff.
But just had a question. Do you think, the difference between winning out, going 9-3, or losing one or both of the last two SEC games would impact off-season coaching decisions as far as the coaching staff, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, strength conditioning, whatever that is? Or do you think those decisions are kind of already panned out or made? And I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you,
all.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think it'll certainly impact it in the sense that maybe those decisions are already being thought about, and then if you go out there and you give up 40 points to this DJ Lagway abysmal offense that scored 3 points against Kentucky, 7 points, something like that. Could barely do anything. Got benched against Kentucky. If I think the decisions are kind of already starting to be thought about and potentially discussed in the back of the head. But if you go out and you really lay an egg against that Florida team, I think it could certainly cement a decision or make it even more obvious that something needs to happen. And Vanderbilt's a good offense, but going out and having a bad game against them could also help solidify that decision as well, I think.
If I'm Josh Heupel, I already know what I need to do. And if he doesn't know what he needs to do, I'm concerned. I think in the last 3 years, you've had plenty of opportunities and examples to see that you got to be better. Like you have to get better around you. This team is soft this year, and that is a non-negotiable. So whether you're changing your approach or you're changing some people around you, like I think major change is coming and needs to come if we as a program was looking to take a step forward. Because I can tell you right now, I have zero confidence that if nothing changes, we will take a step forward. I don't believe we will if something doesn't change. If we do everything the same way we did this year and the year before, we will not take a step forward. We will only be playing to get into the playoffs, but not actually do anything in the playoffs. We'll be just getting there just to say, hey, we made the playoffs 2 out of the 3 years that they had a 12-team playoff.
That's not good enough at Tennessee.
Well, you know what, Ben? That's the debate. Because history says that is good enough. And this is a conversation that, man, I've been waiting to have. Tennessee historically wins about 7 games out of 10, give or take. The fact is, Tennessee should have played in more than one championship. They should have played in more than one championship. And this is no slight to any coach or any AD or any player or whatever. University of Tennessee, during its peak in the mid or in the late 90s and early 2000s, should have played for more than one national championship. When you look at programs in the last 30 years that have had runs like Tennessee in terms of putting guys in the league, win-loss record, they're programs that have played for for championships multiple times. Didn't win it multiple times. Might have the USCs, Alabamas, the Georgias. There's been some teams, Clemson, they've won multiple championships. But at least they played for it multiple times. So I honestly think that we underachieved a little bit with the talent that we had, only competing for a national championship one time. It's my personal opinion. And so when people are talking about the expectations of Tennessee, you have one group, Ben, that's like, hey, man, the standard is be for championships. The standard is championships. The standard is being one of those teams. Well, because of the underachievement and the bad management, because I'm mixing all of it together in the last 25, 30 years. Highs, lows, all of it. But because you only play for one national championship and won one national championship, and your win-loss record during that time is not as high as it could have been, what happens is you have a group of people that's like, hey, what we're doing is better than what was done 10 years ago. Well, 10 years ago is bad. So why are we comparing us to the bad stuff. If you really want to strive for greatness, you have expectation level that you set for yourself, and you don't waver based on the past or somebody's opinion. If your goal is to make a serious run each and every year to the college football playoff, set that goal, man. Set it. Because I don't think getting there, whether it's backing in or just getting there and not playing well and looking bad and not winning a game, I don't think that's the standard of this regime.
Heupel expects more.
Yeah, I think Danny expects more.
Yeah, because you are committing enough resources to where you should be doing more.
Yes. So
this isn't. And I hate to always compare it to the baseball program, but to me it's the best example right in front of your face on campus, and it's one that I obviously know a lot about. But this isn't the Tennessee baseball program breaking through to Omaha for the first time with limited resources. Tennessee football does not have limited resources, and then it, just everything came together in the perfect way, and all the stars aligned in 2024, and they were able to get into the college football playoffs with limited resources as the program has been rebuilt and built up by this new coach. This is you have all the resources you need to do damage in the playoffs, not to where this isn't Vanderbilt football where all the stars align within one season with limited resources and you're able to finally get into the playoffs. This is a program that has the resources to not only get in the playoffs year in and year out, but do damage when they get there. That's at least what you should be doing with your resources, and that's a lot harder, and it's not as easy as it is to say, but like when you have the resources that Tennessee has, I mean, you should be getting in and doing damage, not just sneaking in and being content with getting in. I think the difference is when you talk about some folks say, look at what this program is historically. When you point out like this average of 7 wins a year or whatever, I don't see Tennessee fans saying that. Maybe I'm just missing them. I see national media members. I see people outside of Knoxville, outside of Tennessee, trying to remind Tennessee fans that they should appreciate what they have now because look where they were for 15, 20 years. And that's not a wrong opinion to have necessarily, but I think it is very simple-minded and not really taking in all the context, because Tennessee didn't struggle for 15 years because it lacked resources. Tennessee struggled for 15 years because it had the wrong people in place. And just because you had the wrong people in place, which is what led to those failures, that doesn't mean the standard of the program changes. You still have all the tools, all the resources necessary, and I'm sorry to be saying that over and over and beating a dead horse with it, but like that's the reality of the situation is you have everything you need to go win a championship. Do you have as much money as A&M or Texas or Ohio State? No. Will you ever have that much money? And I'm talking about just simply in terms of what you're paying players. No, you're not going to have that. But you still have enough in the pot to where you can build a great roster that is capable of winning a championship. What has Josh Heupel's bugaboo been the last couple of years? It's not that he's just stumping his toe because he doesn't have the money to go build an elite roster. They've missed on evaluations on both sides of the football at key positions that have held them back when game day rolls around on Saturday. So they have not lost, and Tennessee has not lost because of a lack of resources. If that were the case, then yes, standards should be redefined. If this were Ole Miss football, if this was Vanderbilt football, if this was South Carolina football, but it's not. This is Tennessee football, who has more resources than those programs and are capable of competing for championships year in and year out. They don't have to strike gold once every 5 years like some of these other programs. If that were the case, then yes, let's have a conversation about resetting the standard. But again, like I said, I think a lot of that that I see are from people outside of Knoxville, outside of Tennessee, who are kind of dismissing what Tennessee has in at their disposal, and that is the tools to go win a championship.
Yeah, there's been some of that talk within our fan base. That's like, hey man, look where we came from, and I understand that point. I'm not a big fan of that point because, and you mentioned redefining expectations. I think you can redefine expectations because we're living in a time right now, Ben McKee, where Vanderbilt is in position to go to the playoffs. Texas Tech is in a position to go to the playoffs. And there's more parity now than ever before. And so if you have an expectation to get to the college football playoff every year, and you're Tennessee, you're LSU, you're Florida, you're Ohio State, you're Michigan, you're USC, I think those are fair expectations considering the college football that we're in right now. Now, if it was a 14 playoff and you didn't have NIL, it'd be one thing. But there's no reason why Tennessee shouldn't be one of the 12 every year. And there's going to be some years where you have a better chance of making a run than others. But I think that should be the expectation. And what bothers me is when you set a goal. Hey, man, my goal is to make a 95 on this test. But if you make a 91, you lower the goal to make yourself feel good, to make yourself feel like you reached the goal. No, you did a good job, but you failed the goal. And embrace it and be better next year and make the changes to make that 95, whether that's internally, externally, whatever you have to do to reach your goal, do that. Don't lower the goal. That's something that the previous two coaches did. When you had this goal to win all these games, you didn't make it to Atlanta, and then you was called to the carpet, and then the coach was like, well, we don't talk about going to Atlanta. Well, why the hell not? That's what you talk. That's the goal. Why are you not talking about it? So let's just set the expectation and not waver. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do think there's something to be said to the people who you pointed out that are saying that, hey, look where Tennessee was 10 years ago. Like, have some appreciation for what's happening now. I do think that is a fair thing to point out. Just don't change the standards while you're pointing that out. It is okay to have high standards and also appreciate that, look, we can talk about Tennessee being soft. We can talk about Josh Heupel needing to make off-season changes, and he needs to do this with his strength coach potentially. He needs to potentially give up play calling duties so he can focus on clock and game management. There's a Tim Banks conversation to be had. There's a conversation to be had about if they have enough elite recruiters on the staff on both sides of the football. But at the end of the day, despite all those questions, Josh Heupel still has a good football program. Make no bones about that. This is still a good football program.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for that, and there should be an appreciation. Just don't change the standards along the way. Like, you can appreciate that while also still recognizing that the standard is the standard, right? Isn't that the old cliche? Who said that?
Your boy Mike Tomlin, didn't he?
That was my guy, Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has so many Tomlinisms. I've checked out on the Steelers this week because they piss me off even more than some of these Tennessee conversations. That defense drives me crazy. Aaron Rodgers playing his worst game of the year. Anyways, nobody wants to hear that. But my last thing would be just that I do think people can be a little extreme with it, and it goes back to the championship buster mentality. Everybody's right to have that if they choose. I think you are setting yourself up for a miserable experience as a sports fan if you choose that life, because it's an unrealistic expectation. To me, I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm thinking too far outside of the box, or I need to look at myself in the mirror. But to me, I feel like I can expect a championship from my favorite team, but also appreciate the small victories along the way.
You can do that.
Even when they don't meet those championship expectations.
You can do both. You can say, hey,
because you can not meet championship expectations and still have a really good season. Like last year was very frustrating at times. Tennessee getting into the playoffs. Like Tennessee got into the playoffs. They won double-digit games, and everybody was very frustrated with how the season ended because it was a reality check of how far away Tennessee was from a national championship, how far Tennessee is away from the standard of college football right now, and that's Ohio State. But as disappointing as that was, along the way, you still beat Florida and Alabama. And that's not something that should be looked over, combed over, because the 10 to 15 years that we are discussing, you could not beat those teams to save your life. And I think next Saturday is a perfect example of that. Is like, will this season ultimately go down as a disappointment? Yeah, because you had some frustrating play. You didn't make the playoffs. But if you beat Florida for the first time in the Swamp since 2003, that should not be lost in the frustrations of how the season ultimately played out. That small victory along the way, even in the midst of a disappointment, should be celebrated.
Yeah, all of it factors in. I'm going to the phones. Got somebody waiting really patiently, so let's get to the phones. Good morning.
Hey, the Vol Patriot is always patient. How y'all doing?
What's up, Patriot?
Not much, man. Ben, how you been, bro?
Ben has been good. Ben is feeling well. Appreciate you asking.
Very good. Of course, man. Hey, look, I stayed on the phone. You guys have been actually speaking on my point, man. I totally agree with what both you guys are saying. There are fans out there, and I'm specifically talking about Tennessee fans who, believe, we should be happy with the situation we have now. And it is a complacency. It's not that we can't be happy, right? Like what you said, can two things be true? Of course they can. The standard can still be what it is, and we can still appreciate, where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the standard, you know what I'm saying? So I totally agree with what you guys are saying. I think it, I think there is a narrative, and I think the media, is trying to remind Tennessee fans, hey, you should just be happy, because ultimately I don't think people want to see Tennessee back. That's a problem. Tennessee being on top is a problem. You guys know it. I know it. And to my Tennessee fans out there who are complacent, come on, man. We know what Tennessee has been in the past and what it can be, Anyway, man, it's a conversation that is being held across the board. And I like you, Ben, I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of telling people, hey, this isn't the cream of the crop for us. We have the opportunity, as what you were saying, Swain, in a league of parity across the board. Vanderbilt can be what they are. Why aren't we in a position that we should be to be at least, right, in the playoffs, competing for an opportunity? I think that's not. I think that's something that we can do year in, year out, is at least be in a position to be in the playoffs, not in the beginning of November looking on the outside in, wishing hopefully this team and this team and this team and this team will lose and maybe we'll have a chance. Like, that's crazy. We should at least be in that conversation. But you guys already spoke my point, and I appreciate y'all, man.
Hey, thank you. It's not too much to ask. And here's me coming to the defense of the fans on this one. The fans just want a team that is well coached, that's disciplined, that the fruits of the recruiting labor shows, and they want the guys to play hard. That's it. Like, those four things, I think that's all fans really want, because they understand the resources that Tennessee have. I'll repeat, they want the team to play hard. They want the team to be coached up, be disciplined, and they want us to have the talent, to put the talent that is shown from the hard work in recruiting. And when one of those things don't happen, and the result on the field is not where it needs to be, you're going to get fans complaining. And I think the fans, for the most part, have been reasonable in what they are expecting. But again, we're in a good spot. Here's the opportunity to finish the season strong and make the changes to be in a better spot next year. And for those who are saying, well, it should be this year, I understand what you're saying. All right, let's go back to the phones. Good morning.
Good morning, Jay Swizzle. Good morning, Ben James.
Big Orange Mac.
Y'all is preaching this morning. Look here. I'm an old. I consider myself an old Tennessee fan. I'm now of Tennessee fans. All right, I've seen the highest of high and the glory of Tennessee football. My time growing up, I've seen 5 SEC championships and seen them play twice for a national championship in back-to-back years in '97 and '98. That to me is the standard, and it should always be the standard. But the damage that was done, the inept, the mismanagement of the program for the past 15 years has done so much damage to the program where you got a generation of kids that came after me that's watching Tennessee football or don't even want to be a part of Tennessee football. They think it's just been one big doo-doo show for 15 years, and they ain't wrong. Why would they want to be a part of that? So just say, oh, well, this. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate what has been done so far. Hey, yeah, we're better than what we were, 10 years ago. Yes, and I love it. We can get on Twitter and talk a little smack. You know what I'm saying? But the standard should always be winning championships. And with a 12-team playoff, you have no excuse to say, well, we didn't make, the play. No! You got 12 teams. It ain't like you got the 2 top teams like was the BCS. You got an opportunity to play for the national championship. It should be no excuse why you missing out every year.
Yeah.
That is the standard. It should always be the standard. Now I know, we've seen some dark, gloomy days, but that mess is over with.
It's over.
It's over. It's over. It's time to move forward. You can't let your past dictate your future. It's time to move forward. Yeah, I think Heupel, he come from a blue blood program in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. He should know and understand those standards, and I think that he does, and he knows that. But he's going to have to start showing us, he's willing to make those changes. Back in the late '60s, Alabama kind of fell off, and Barry Bryant said, if I don't make some changes, I'm going to get fired. So he put in the option in the late '60s and dominated through the '70s. He was willing to make those changes to keep the thing going. So those are standards of blue blood programs, and I'm not taking anything away from teams like Texas Tech or Vanderbilt. And I'm enjoying the parity. You just ain't got the same old UGAs and Ohio States, and I'm enjoying the parity. But at the same time, the expectations of your big blue blood programs, and I'm going to say this, I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but, our fall off the past 15 years has kept us from being considered a blue blood program. Shoot me if you want to, but as far as I'm concerned, we're not a blue blood program. We're not up there in the upper echelon. We can recover and get back there where we say, hey, Tennessee's a blue blood football program. But until then, we're kind of like in this purgatory. We ain't never been no Vanderbilt, but we ain't that upper echelon of football programs. Guys, I got to get in here and get into work. Y'all have a great day. Love y'all, and go Big Orange.
My man. Thank you, Big Orange Mac. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with having high expectations. And I think, where we are, college sports, Tennessee, who generated more revenue than any other team in the SEC besides Texas, and according to Danny White, nipping on Texas's heels. I think it's fair to expect a playoff run each and every year. So got to get back to that. 865-255-03. Let me hit the text box this morning. Jim McKee, GoVols 247. I'm Jason Swain, live here in the Low T Center studio. Turkey Man wants the collection plate passed because Big Orange Mac is preaching. Adam Carter says there's way too much money involved to go 7-5 if we lose to Florida and Vandy, and also the portal is a tool to help you win now. If we go 7-5 and Heupel is feeling more heat, would you advise him to go for a more proven quarterback in the portal over two unproven quarterbacks? Yes, they are highly rated, but it seems like those guys are a dime a dozen. Well, this will be one of Heupel's toughest decisions to make in all season, Ben, is whether or not he is going to roll with a unproven quarterback in year 6, where the schedule is going to be harder next year. You're adding Georgia Tech, and I know Haynes King going to be there, but Brent Key's footprint is all over that program, bro. They are tough. So the schedule's going to be harder. You're going to play an unproven quarterback with a defense that right now is the worst in the league. You can get away with playing a first-time quarterback with last year's defense because he did that with Nico, first time as a starting quarterback. But a bottom third defense or a middle of the pack defense with the unproven quarterback, I don't know. Heupel's had his most success with experienced quarterbacks. Hendon, 2 years. Joe, and now Joey. How do you keep the 2 young quarterbacks while still going into the portal and looking for an insurance policy, insurance plan? Because I think if you're Heupel, you got to protect yourself, man. Like, you put your eggs in a Nico basket, a young player, and it didn't work out. I think you need a net, a safety net. Can you go out and find a Trinidad Chambers? The answer is probably no, because like those guys don't grow on trees, and that's a once in a 5-year, 10-year deal. But hey, it could happen next year. Who knows? But you need someone like that who won't maybe scare off the young dudes, but is more capable of beating them out. And if they are beaten out, those young dudes will be okay with waiting their turn and redshirting, because you can point to Todd Simpson, you can point to other dudes who have waited their turn and been ready to go when it was their time to play.
I think it's without a doubt the most difficult decision he is going to have to make this offseason. I think it's more difficult than whether or not to keep Tim Banks, whether or not to give up play calling, whether or not to find a new strength coach. Maybe that would be the one that rivals it, just because of how important the strength program is. But I just don't understand why some people and most of the Tennessee media are just scoffing at it. Oh, you've got enough money tied up in Faison Brandon and George McIntyre. I don't give a daggum. Who cares how much money you got tied up? If you don't think either one of them are going to be the answer next season, then go get a quarterback. I don't care how much money's tied up in those two. I don't care that those two guys, you don't want to run either one of them off. Next season is pivotal for Heupel. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you simply said that he needs to look out for himself. And not only does he need to look out for himself, which he would be doing in the process, but he needs to look out for Tennessee first and foremost. Because if you roll a young quarterback out there that's not ready next season and you go 7-5, what's happening in recruiting at that point? Then the overall talent of the team starts to come down. So not only does Heupel need to look out for himself, because the moment he goes 7-5 next season, he's automatically on the hot seat, because we know college football is a year-by-year basis now. It doesn't feel like anybody is safe anymore. Maybe Ryan Day or Kirby Smart or somebody along those lines can afford a down year and be given grace. I don't know for sure that Josh Heupel would be given grace with a down year. We're considering this a down year. And the book hasn't even been written on this season of what they could be, and that might be 8-4, that might be 7-5. I think it's going to be 8-4. Quite frankly, I don't see them beating Florida and Vanderbilt. I don't trust them enough. I don't think they're disciplined enough. They beat themselves too much to believe that they're going to win both of those football games to close out the season. So I've kind of been baffled the last couple of weeks, honestly, when this conversation has come up in my conversations, and it's just it's like you're speaking a different language just because they already have so much money tied up in the position and because you don't want to run either of those guys off. I don't care about those two things if one of those two young guys is not ready. If Josh, I don't know what the answer is. Yeah. I know what I would do based off of Josh Heupel's yes or no answer to the question of, and only Josh Heupel, Joey Halzle, and that offensive staff. And maybe on November 13th you can't answer that. Maybe you see how the season ends up playing out. But after the Vanderbilt game, or maybe it's after the bowl game, I don't know, because maybe George gets to play in the bowl game. But at some point you're going to have to ask the question. It's a very simple question. You're going to have to ask it before that portal window opens January 2nd. Do we think, with a second offseason, George McIntyre can lead us to the playoffs? If the answer is yes, roll with George. If the answer to that question is no, you got to go find a quarterback in the portal. And I don't know that it should be a D2 or D3 quarterback like Trinidad Chambliss. If you are concerned if McIntyre will be ready for the season opener, I don't think you can roll the dice. I think you've got to go out there, find a proven quarterback. You have the money to make it work. And who gives a dadgum at that point if you run somebody off? Not going 8-4 or 7-5 next season is more important.
I 1,000% agree with you. I agree with you. So I think the adjustments with the strength conditioning, that's number one. And then number two is quarterback. And then there's some other big decisions that Josh Heupel's going to have to make. But I think those are the main two, because without good quarterback play, you can forget about it. Like, it ain't happening.
I have a question for you. It's a tough question, so buckle up.
Okay.
With Tim Banks, did Tim Banks build up enough grace and goodwill with you? I'm asking Jason Swain. Is there enough goodwill and grace built up within Jason Swain's football IQ to where he would be okay with Tim Banks getting an opportunity to fix what went wrong this season?
I think it depends, Ben. If you Josh Heupel, are you hands off or are you hands on? Am I giving Tim Banks the opportunity to fix it and I'm hands off, or I'm involved and I'm telling you who I think should be coaching this position or coaching that position, or hey, we gotta get a new guy here, like. Or are you saying, all right, Tim, it's up to you. You fix it. And
I think scheme is an issue. I think it's personnel and scheme. So, and the question I would be asking is Tim Banks still as motivated as he was when he got to Tennessee? If that question is yes, and he's still coaching with an edge like he did when he got to Tennessee, then I'd be willing to give him a chance to correct his mistakes from this season.
Yeah, there's some dynamics there. I don't think it's good to talk about them here, but like there's some dynamics, man, that I don't know. Like I can see Tim Banks going and get another DC job. I can see him coming back. I can also see him not coming back. Like, I can see different scenarios. Remember, Tim had an opportunity to sign an extension last year, but didn't when he first got it because he wasn't given an extension when maybe he thought he should have, or when he could have been given an extension.
He was salty about it.
I think he's more in what they were more in wait and see mode with him, and then he had the big year, and then an extension was offered, but then it wasn't signed immediately. So there's that dynamic. And if I'm Tennessee, I'm like, man, we just gave you an extension, and a year after we gave you an extension, we're at the worst defense in the league. And having 2 starting corners doesn't excuse the missed tackles and the scheme, and like it doesn't excuse all that stuff. And so that's a factor. And then like, all right, is Tim Banks' staff? We know Rodney is on point, but like, is the surrounding cast around Tim Banks on defense, is it good enough? I don't know. Auburn has an opening at head coach. If the right head coach is hired, Auburn's going to come calling for Rodney Garner.
You tell your boy John Summerall to stay away.
They're going to come for Rodney Garner if the right head coach is hired at Auburn, okay? Rodney still has a home there, strong ties there, and so it almost happened in the last couple of years. I would not be surprised if the new Auburn coach calls Rodney, okay?
It almost happened when Hugh got hired, right?
Yeah, so if you're hyper, man, you're evaluating both staffs. You have to ask yourself, do I have the dudes that can recruit at the level I need them to recruit at without having to overpay players?
Can we go? I know this is awkward, but can we go through individually the defensive staff real quick? You don't want to?
I don't want to.
I see you shaking your head. I look at the assistant coaches. I'm not talking about Tim Banks, and I honestly don't know that I would make a change with the assistant coaches. You're not going to make a change with Rodney Garner, right?
Well, you're not.
Chop, huh?
Yeah, you're not.
No, Tennessee Heupel's not going to make a change with Rodney Garner.
No.
You look at Chop. The pass rush has not been great this season. Joseph's has been fine. I think he's made himself some money.
I mean, the
but
pass
it's
rush,
been very
it was like it was last year.
inconsistent.
I mean, you got to the quarterback more this year than last year.
And it's still been inconsistent this year. I mean, at one point you went 8 quarters with 1 sack.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's not been good enough. I mean, there have been times where opposing quarterbacks have just been sitting back there all day long.
But the defense, as far as the front, has been better this year rushing the passer and has some inconsistent stretches. And Chop wasn't in that position that he's in right now. So I think Chop is doing a hell of a job, honestly.
I don't know that he's doing a hell of a job. I think he's fine.
Yeah, okay. That's fine.
But the point that I was going to make about Chop is he might be your best recruiter. So whatever you think about what's happening on the field, you can't get rid of him.
Him and Kelsey, your best recruiters on staff.
Yeah,
Kelsey
so you can't get rid of him. I think William Inge would like a word with that conversation. William Inge is recruiting the heck out of the linebacker position.
Chop and Kelsey Pope are your best recruiters.
William Inge has more results than Chop right now.
Chop has been recruiting at a high level even when he was off the field. He was your best recruiter. He was your top 2 recruiter before he was on the field. Before he even got here.
For this thought that I'm sharing with you isn't as much about Chop as it is William Inge. This is more of an opinion on William Inge and me thinking that he's doing a really good job of recruiting and maybe needing to give him a little bit more respect. That's more so my point right now.
He can be third, but like those 2 guys I mentioned are your best.
But with Inge, like I don't really want to. I don't think Tennessee should get rid of William Inge. T-Lander and Arion. Notice how I said Arion the proper way. Those 2 have not necessarily taken this step forward that I thought they would this season, but is that and they haven't been bad. So this is going to sound worse than it is, but is that a more of a missed evaluation, or is that William Inge not coaching them up?
Hey, man, how about we just leave it here? Linebacker group got to be better.
They do, but what Heupel is going to have to do is figure out what the issue was and why they weren't better. So is it the Heupel and his previous staff missed on Thielander and Carter evaluations because they have not been the SEC linebackers that you need them to be? Simple as that. Or is it William Inge not coaching them up? I have a hard time believing that it's William Inge's fault because William Inge has a great track record. And he's got Perlotti contributing here at the end of the season. I think Edwin Spillman continues to get better and better.
I mean, he didn't want to play him at first.
William Inge,
like he didn't want to play him. I mean, he played early and then didn't play because I remember Austin Price had to ask about Perlotti because we didn't see him like we thought we were going to see him. We heard that they were going to play young guys, and I made this point on the show before. Sometimes as a coach, like dudes get lost. You mean to play a guy more, and it just doesn't happen, and you hate it. It's unfortunate, but I'm just going to make it simple. The linebacker group has to be better, and if you're Heupel, are you hands off, letting the defensive guys handle it themselves, or are you more hands on, more CEO-ish? And say, all right, no, I'm about to start evaluating every position, every coach, and I'm going to make that decision. And
shouldn't he always be doing both, though? Like, you should be doing that all the time. You should always kind of be a CEO and evaluating each of those positions at all times on your own. But then you should also be trusting the people that you hire to do their job. I think it's a little bit of a balancing act.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, so we agree that linebackers need to get better. Yeah. I'm in the camp of I don't think William Inge needs to go anywhere.
I'm not having a conversation about coaches need to be replaced. That's not a conversation I'm going to have.
Okay, well you don't have to finish out the conversation, but since I started it, I'm not doing anything with Willie either because I'm not faulting Willie for the mess that he inherited this season with the injuries to Gibson and McCoy. And at the end of the day, I put the Boo Carter situation.
Willie doesn't coach corners.
He's coaching the safeties?
He coaches safeties.
Well, I thought E.T. was coaching the safeties and Willie was working with the corners. In fall camp, Willie was working with the corners more than he was the safeties.
E.T. works with the corners.
Okay, well then that's been a change since fall camp.
Yeah, E.T. is Banks is they have a strong relationship. So Banks put him in that position to coach the corners, and Willie's coaching the safeties.
Well, if Willie is coaching safeties instead of corners, then I'm not saying Willie needs to absolutely go, but a hard conversation needs to be had. Something needs to be figured out why safety play is what it is and has been what it has been.
Because
and if
we haven't been willing to spend what it takes to get dudes at that position. Like you're talking about a guy, Willie Martinez, who was defense coordinator at Georgia, who's coaching this league. He knows what it's supposed to look like.
Yes, I agree. I was about to stump for Willie, so I'm not necessarily saying Willie needs to go. I'm just saying, like, somebody's got to take responsibility for the play of the safeties, and it just can't be, we haven't been spending money on that position. That can't be the only reason. Somebody's got to take accountability for it, whether I like Willie or not.
Yeah, it's Tim Banks, it's Willie, because Tim Banks has a background working with the safeties, and he's a defense coordinator. Then it's Willie. That's fine. I mean, you can hold those dudes accountable. They're getting paid a lot of money. They're big boys. But we haven't.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, they need to go spend.
And we need to
money on that position. But the spending money on the position doesn't account for all the high school misses the last several years.
Well, yes, it does.
That they've made
in some way, yeah. Because if you keep buying a cheap product and you're having to replace it over and over and over, you're spending the same money, maybe even more, if you just pony up at the beginning and just pay the big price for something that's high quality. I just think at some point you just say, all right, man, let's go ahead and pay for this safety that is way more than we've ever paid for a safety, instead of nickel and diming a bunch of players in that position, and you've yet to find a guy that is going to be a 2-3 year starter for you. I just think at this point, going into year 6, it might be time to take a different approach at that safety position. As far as
I'm not
athleticism you bring
disagreeing.
in. Yeah.
I'm just asking, why has Andre Turrentine, who signed with Ohio State and was a 4-star coming out of high school, he was a highly ranked player coming out of high school, signed with Ohio State. Why has he not gotten better the last 3 years?
Turrentine is not the fastest, man. But yeah, that's fair.
If he's not the fastest, how did you not recognize that in your evaluation? And why did you pursue him in the portal if he lacked the athleticism to play in the SEC? Why was that not discovered before he got to Tennessee? Why was that not evaluated when he was transferring from Ohio State to Tennessee? And he should be somebody that you're well aware of because he's an in-state kid and they recruited him out of high school.
You have questions that should be asked in the staff personnel room during the offseason. I'm getting back to the text box. Charge of all, I'm having back channel conversation with Sam Pittman. If he wants to come, he's my new online coach. At least they will be disciplined. That's not going to happen. Josh Heupel and Glenn Ellaby are tied to the hip. And Ellaby is the highest paid non-coordinator on staff. Heupel has said how important Ellaby is to the offense in the running game. And, like, I get it. Like, I understand Sam Pittman's resume. I get it. I understand. But Ellaby and Heupel, man, they have a system that has worked, and Ellaby has made some adjustments. They've been better in their recruiting of offensive line. They just have to continue to be better in that area. And remain steady there. But the notion that you're gonna bring in, Sam Pittman, that ain't gonna happen, y'all. These two dudes work together. These two dudes understand the offense. That's not gonna happen. I wish I can tell you that it will, but it's not gonna happen. Vaughn Birmingham not willing to spend money. Isn't Boo Carter getting $800,000? How much does a good safety cost? Well, Boo was a nickel player for you that you paid a lot money to retain. But we are willing to spend money. We just have to spend money with the right players. That's what it's all about. You got to spend the right amount with the right players, and we got to be better about doing that. We're the only team that has to do that and be better, but we have to be better. Adam Carr says, I thought Tim Banks was listed as co-safeties coach is why I said that about the safeties coach. No, Tim Banks, yes. Tim Banks works with the safeties. Whether he's listed or not, I know he works with the safeties. Willie works with the safeties as well, too. And E.T. works with the corners. They all work together to work with the secondary, but that happens.
I have one quick question about that. Is E.T. Are you comfortable with him coaching up the corners as somebody who is not technically an assistant coach? Like is he good enough to where that is acceptable? Does that make sense as a question?
I don't care if you have a title or not. I mean, are you being developed? Is a group growing and getting better? I would say Ty Redmond has improved and gotten better. I would definitely say he's gotten better. I just need us to have more options and more depth, and less misses. But yeah, like I would say that young players have gotten better. But yeah, that's the dynamic.
I agree. I don't have an issue with him not having the title. You just better be very confident in his abilities.
Tim Banks put him in that position because Tim Banks trusts him. So, he put him in that position to coach the corners, whether he has a title or not. So, Tim Banks could have put Willie in control of the whole secondary, and ET could be assisting Willie, but that's not the case. ET is working with the corners. Willie's working with the safeties. That is something that Tim Banks wanted. All right, I'm going back to the phones. Good morning.
Good morning, Jason.
What's up, man?
Hey, man, it's Dustin.
What's up, Dustin? Good morning.
Hey, man, y'all said something just a minute ago I wanted to touch on about does the team or does Tim Banks get grace this year or something along the lines of that? And my thought process on it is this. This was the year that the whole staff got a little grace period from the fan base. I went to Columbus and my wife, we watched the playoff game. I was so disappointed leaving there, that was from the get-go. We were beat at birth in that game. And then this year with Nico leaving during the spring, everybody was like, let's get behind Merklinger with that, and it ended up with Joey. But everybody before the season, well, they'll be 8-4, 9-3. Okay, so this is going to be his grace period because nobody had ever seen anything like that. Starting quarterback, jet, and whatever. We get into the season. We take Georgia to within 3 points. Everybody's, it flip-flops. No, we have a great season. We should have. We're a couple kicks away from being a better team. With that being said, this was his grace year. If he's going to have a fall from grace moment, it's this year. I want to ask you this: is his loyalty to his people and to the ones around him, is that going to be his downfall? Because here's what I'm looking at, and I hate to be this fan because as Tennessee, I don't feel like we should ever be afraid of anybody, but just hear me out on this. You've got New Mexico State this weekend, Florida, who you should go beat, but I'm 34 years old, and we haven't beat them in the swamp in a long, long time. Okay, since I was a kid. You've got a Vanderbilt team that, with every week, my heart gets more and more tied up, my stomach gets not, because I'm so not ready to see that game if we play like we have played the last couple of games. We will get our brakes beat off of us in England Stadium. And with Diego Pavia, he will rub it in, and that will be so frustrating. And that will be, I've said it on here before, you don't want to lose to Vanderbilt.
No, you can't lose.
Because if you do, I hate to be this way, but when I seen that 9-game SEC schedule drop for next year, as a Tennessee fan, my thought was, oh, my God. Like, we've thought it has been, the little talks of what does Heupel need to do. Listen, this could be what breaks him. Like, this is his grace. His grace period is this year. Because if he loses to Vanderbilt at the end of this season and we go into next season in that 9-game slate and we get rocked by Texas, and we've got some big home games. But we may not be in a situation. Y'all have talked about it a little bit for the last couple minutes, but our defensive line room has the last 2 years all the talk has been about how great it should have been, but it's kind of been lackluster. We've lost a lot of interior talent. I don't think people realize just how big Omari Thomas was to holding blocks for the linebackers last year. But we don't have we've got some good young talent, but it's been said we don't play our young talent, and when we do, they're still young. They're going to make mistakes. But and it's been preached all year, said all year, we don't have time to be young. Well, guess what? This is your grace period, dude. Like, if we have to revamp our defensive coaching staff, he revamped some of the offensive coaching staff this past year. He brought some analysts in and stuff. He may need to make more changes this year. We know that we need talent, more talent,
But then I heard you yesterday, and I thought you were joking at first on another show that you do, and you were talking about Lenore Sellers, and I thought, oh my God, Jason, you're screwing around with me. And then
hold on. Let me explain. Kevin Simon brought Lenore Sellers up as an option that he would pursue. Like if he was Tennessee, he would pursue Lenore Sellers because there's been some talk about him in Miami, him possibly leaving South Carolina, and Kevin was like, well, we need to be in those sweepstakes. Don't just let him go to Miami. We should bring him here. That was a conversation.
Right, and then just a few minutes ago, you were talking about maybe trying to find like that kid, like the Chambliss kid.
Yeah, because
our room's so young, it's going to be young, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different options you can take. I mean, you can go do that. Get a proven guy that's going to cost you a whole lot of money. Miami is paying quarterbacks out here $4 million to come in and transfer. Or you can be like, all right, we're going to get a third string D2, low D1 guy as a safety net to the younger two guys. But do you feel good about the younger two guys going into this gauntlet of a schedule next year with a defense that's not good enough?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many things up in air.
Yeah.
That if we get to the end of this year and the team little brother rolls in and beats us, I mean,
heads will roll.
I hate to even put that out there, but I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you and I'm like, okay, so we need defensive coaching changes. We probably need some offensive coaching changes. Well, we need a better strength guy. Like, hello, somebody needs to wake up and say, dude, this is your grace period. You better figure it out. Because
I'm saying Josh Heupel will need to make some adjustments, whether that is philosophically or he makes some changes with the staff. I'm not going to sit here and point out assistant coaches that need to be let go. I'm not going to do that. But I do think
and my point about going to the defensive coaches was like, I don't necessarily see an obvious defensive assistant coach that should be let go. That was my point of going through the defensive coaching staff. I think there's a conversation to be had about Tim Banks, but the other four true assistant coaches, like I don't know that there's an obvious one that needs to be let go. Maybe Willie Martinez because he's been working more with safeties.
A defense coordinator is not going to be brought in and then keep everybody, right? Like, I mean, that don't normally happen.
I think that would be Josh Heupel's decision more so than if Josh Heupel brings in a new DC, is he going to be willing to allow the DC to make the staff hires that he wants to, or is he going to make the new DC keep who is already on staff? I don't know what Heupel would do in that moment.
Yeah, that would.
So do y'all think the loyalty part of it though? Do you think that, like, I mean, does he? I mean, God, I hate to say it just plain out, but does he have in himself to be like, hey man, I hate this, but we got to go a different direction?
I don't know, man.
We really get to see that.
I don't know.
I don't think he does on offense. I definitely don't think he does on offense with the whole Glenn Ellerby aspect that Swain was talking about earlier. And when I say that, I'm not saying that Ellerby needs to go. I think that conversation is way down on the list of conversations that need to be had after this season.
Yeah, Ellerby's fine.
But we just in covering Heupel the last couple of years and all the conversations we've had about how Heupel is very guarded about allowing outsiders of his offensive coaching tree to kind of come in and see the offense and promotes from within. He's very loyal on the offensive side of the football. I don't know if that same thought applies on the defensive side.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate y'all.
Hey, thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's a new defensive coordinator, I'm not saying it needs to be. I'm just saying if there is, I would expect any good defensive coordinator would say, "Nah, man, I need to bring my own dudes. Like, I need to have say in who I work with." I don't think it's fair to any defense coordinator not to be able to pick the guys that he want to roll with. Like, that's not fair at all. All right, let's go back to the phones. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's up?
Not much. How you guys doing today?
Good. Sounds like little Justin from Florida.
Did you say Lil Justin from Florida?
Little Justin from Florida.
Damn.
Little Justin from Florida action on the hotline.
All right. Yeah, that sounds better than the first version of that. So the question about the coaching staff is we need to. I think it'd be smart to look at who's on expiring contracts, because one thing we haven't seen is Heupel get rid of someone who is in the middle of a contract and potentially have to pay a buyout. I know Tim Banks just re-upped the deal, so that one's kind of in question. I mean, it sounds like Halsley, his contract's up. Didn't Willie do a one-year extension?
I want to say yes.
Yeah.
His year to year, because he may retire.
Right. So that's one, kind of to Ben's point, maybe if a new DC comes in, that's a bone you throw him. Willie's getting close to that retirement. Does he want to start all over with the new DC? Does he want to, just go ahead and retire? That one may actually fix itself. So it's not like, hey, we've got to let Willie go. That might just be a mutual, parting of ways. Thanks for all you've done. And, this new DC is going to bring in their own DB coach.
Yeah. If you get a new DC.
If you get a new DC. And that's probably the linchpin to the whole conversation. I know it could get complicated with a Rodney Garner. And I know Heupel gets a lot of probably criticism for managing of the staff. I actually think one of the things that Heupel does really well is plan for the future. You've got a young guy in Chop. You've got Robert Ayers.
Robert's with Tampa Bay right now.
Who am I thinking of? Who am I thinking of?
I mean, Robert could come back if there's an opening, but he did leave this past year, and he's in his first year with Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, I'll even take that. I mean, have a little bit of NFL experience on the roster, but I mean, that's a guy you could potentially, bring back if Rodney were to go. So I think Heupel's done a good job of having some, sort of like in-house kind of progression.
Can I stop you right quick?
Same thing.
Can I add?
Yeah.
Marion Hobby too is on this staff as the assistant defensive line coach, who coached at Clemson, coaching in the NFL a long time. Yeah. So
yeah, but you also look at if Halsley were to leave, you need a QB coach. They brought in who is it, Landry Jones?
Yep.
He's a potential fill. So I think Heupel's done a good job of, hey, if we lose a guy here, we've got someone that can potentially step up. But the big question's going to be, is this year bad enough to potentially, now if Tim Banks finds another job, it won't be as painful, but you're looking at a potential, $4 million buyout?
Yeah, not cheap.
I think it is.
Yeah, not cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are checks that typically Tennessee hasn't wanted to write in the past. But, as far as, bringing in a new DC, to Ben's point from earlier, I think a new DC would make personnel decisions that are pretty glaring on the field. Guys like a Turrentine, like some other guys that maybe the SEC is just a little bit too high a level for them, and that's probably where you get a lot of the missed tackles. Is there's a speed aspect of it. I don't think we've talked about Perlotti missing tackles. I think you need to get more of that speed on the field. But just a thought, hanging up, listening to the rest of it. Enjoy the show.
See ya. 865-255-03 is our number. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. More of the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, after this.